figuring out what's the real structure of reality and what's the purpose of life. My way brought me to the Kunsthalle in Hamburg. A place with thousands of paintings created by hundreds of artists all over the world. Caspar David Friedrich, Rembrandt, Picasso, Dali, to name just a few. One piece of art caught my attention deeply. It was the image of a toe, a big toe, called My Big Toe. To me, this picture seemed to be the most valuable work of art of all time. I tried to grab it, to steal it, take it with me and never give it back, but no chance. This picture had its place in the world of art. So I went back home to look through the internet who this freaky artist is and if he's still alive. After a couple of clicks I found a good-looking and very interesting guy, an artist who dedicated his life to science. His theory of everything, T-O-E, his toe. The name of that outstanding person is Mr. Thomas Campbell. I had the privilege to interview him to ask him a couple of questions. I had a conversation today with a friend on the phone. He's also an artist, and we talked about why are we doing art? Are we just doing it for ourselves, or are we doing it to get in response with the outside, to get some energy back that you put inside? Because when you don't get anything back, it feels really lost. So I'm not sure if I do my art, if that is okay to hope that the outside will listen to it and not only a view. I want to have it, some more response on it, and I don't know what to do, and I'm unsure if I'm thinking the right way.
Yeah, well, I think so. I believe all of those things are the reasons why artists do art. One, they do it for themselves because their art is an expression of themselves. But two, they do it because they want to share. You know, they want to make something that is both interesting and meaningful to other people. Now, it's hard to tell exactly in what way it's going to be meaningful to other people, but everybody's going to look at it and see it in their own way, since we all live in our own reality. But that's okay. But they would like it to be shared and appreciated and found to be, useful. You know, art is useful. You know, it's not useful like a can opener is useful, but it's useful like, taking a walk in the woods and being with nature is useful. You know, it helps give you perspective, and it helps you see things from different points of view, and it helps you kind of understand things that are complex. So art is a useful thing as well. It's not only look at the pretty picture, but what is that picture? You know, how does it talk to me? What does it say? How do I relate to it? What does its structure? How does its structure interact with my own experience base? That's the whole thing about art. So yes, an artist wants all of that. Wants other people to appreciate it, and wants to express themselves by it, so it's personal as well.
But these days are really frustrating for artists, I think, and I feel. For example, the song that I sent to you, I also sent it to some entities on the Matrix knowledge group here in Germany. And there was one entity, I asked what he thinks about it, and he said, yeah, well, it's okay, it's not my style, it's too low. That was okay for me. Then I asked him what he thinks about your voice on at the end, and he said, "What for voice? Oh, sorry, I didn't listen to the song to the end." And that's really frustrating me a lot, because when these days are so speedy, are so that the people are no more listening to the full art that someone is giving to the outside, it's really frustrating. And it's not just a normal guy on the street or a mainstream person, it's a conscious person.
Yeah, you have to just let that go. Don't be frustrated with it. People are however they are. They'll get out of it whatever they can get out of it. And, you don't get out much of value if you don't put in something much of value. Art has got to be a participatory thing. If you walk through a museum and spend 3 seconds with each piece of art, just walk by and glance at all of them, you're not going to get much out of any of it. You may get through the museum, in 1 hour, but you're not going to get much. You're not going to take away much of value that way. But you have to let people be whoever they are. They're too busy to listen to the whole thing, too busy really to appreciate. That's just the nature of most people. We tend to be self-focused. We have things to do. We're busy. We've got this and that to do and so on, and we can only put so much time in all the various places. And we end up living a very shallow existence, hopping from one thing to another. But that's the nature of us. But don't let that frustrate you. That's just that person. Somebody else will pick it up and listen to it all the way through. I not only listen to it all the way through, I listen to it probably 3 or 4 times. So that's, other people will do that. So you have to let everybody be the way they are. Don't be frustrated that people aren't the way you'd like them to be, or even the way that you hope they would be. They just are the way they are, and you have to accept that. So some are going to say, nah, I don't like music like that. I only like, whatever, hip-hop music. And they just brush it off out of hand without ever listening to it at all. Others will listen to a little bit and say, well, that's all I have time for. It's not about you when they do that. It frustrates you because you kind of take that personally. It's sort of a personal slight that they don't listen to it when you offer this, but don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's about them. It's not about what they think about you. It's just how they are. So don't take things personally. Let everybody be just the way they are. And I don't know, just don't get frustrated with it. It's okay. Move on and introduce it to somebody else. And if 1 people in 10 or 20 actually get interested in it and want to talk about it or listen to it 3 or 4 times like I did, well, good. That's good. And if nobody does, well, then keep passing it around, keep asking, because you will find people who will listen to it and take it real seriously. And that's your audience. Those are the people you interact with. The people that look at it and don't have time for it, you don't really want to talk to them about it anyway. That's not something maybe they don't relate to things like that very well. Art is very personal. The kind of art that resonates with an individual is very personal to that individual. So some individuals just won't resonate with what you do, and some will. And the ones that don't, for whatever reason. And now, next week, they might resonate with it. But who they are right then at that time, with whatever's on their mind and whatever they're doing, however they are, they may not. That doesn't mean you couldn't, come by it again. I don't know. But you have to learn that it's not about you. People are how they are. It's not that they are reacting because they think less of you and that's why they're doing that. That's not it at all. They're reacting that way because that's just the way they are.
You take me home. On and on and on. Real life like pattern in heaven. See 1,000 faces made out of 1,000 lines. Beauty in the sea. Round and round in circles. Infinity. You take me home. On and on. Real life like a pattern in heaven. I see 1,000 faces made out of 1,000 lines. Beauty in the sea. Round and round in circles. Infinity. Hey you, take me home. On and on. Real life like a pattern in heaven. I see 1,000 faces made out of 1,000 lines. Beauty in the sea. All that really matters. Love, entropy. All that really comes and all that really goes right behind the scene. Round and round in circles. repeat.
The reverberation he had on his lyrics made it a little ethereal.
All that really comes,
Floating, which is probably
all that really goes behind the scene.
1,000 faces, places. The only thing that matters is
Round and round in
the
circles.
only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is lower entropy of that line, because that kind of was a chorus line that repeated
Hey,
a bunch
you
of times. Right.
rebirth, take me home.
But all in all, it was very pleasant to listen to. I enjoyed it.
On and on and on. Real life like a pattern in heaven.
Yeah, I collected all these questions, and I have the feeling that it's much nicer to just talk open again, but I put a lot of work into these questions, and I'm quite confused right now, really. I was reading it and take some out, take some to the tops, and I'm not sure, but I just want to let you know the last two talks we had, especially the first one, but also the second one, really helped me a lot to evolve towards love, I would say, and to lose that suicidal thinking. Actually, as I told you on one of the last fireside chats, I'm since over 3.5 months or maybe 4 months, I'm not doing any drugs like smoking or do not smoking marijuana or playing money games. I quit it all, and really seldom I take MDMA. That's but really once in a month and just a little piece of it. And maybe I will restart microdosing LSD, but not as someone who's addictive, more like a therapy, but maybe I will not do it. I just leave it open. But what I want to tell you is that I really feel much, much better and much clearer. I'm focused, and I do my exercises every morning. It's like a routine right now. I feel like I'm going to live my dream or to live the forward or the moksha, that's my artist name, that I always wanted to be. I start to make a thing that I will do with my art, and I'm really concentrated on the work of it. And yeah, you really helped me a lot, but I'm also having conflicts every day really every day I start in the morning I do light meditation, I do the Wim Hof breathing, I do auto suggestion regarding telling me that I'm worthful, telling me that I'm a good person, that I'm full of love, full of light, that I will fulfill my dream. And then during the day, I just contact my ex-girl, for example, and we discuss about something, and we have a hard discussion. We start fighting, and afterwards, I feel like shit, and I don't know what. Yeah, I feel lost, and I start breathing again to come back to that good feeling, and think it's just a simulation. Just learn out of it, but it's really hard to stay focused on the positive things, and it really always pushing me back. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's more of the same sort of thing that we just talked about, and it's a good thing to talk about because there's so many people that have the same issue. You know, they feel like they're in a light state, and they feel good, and they have energy, and everything's doing fine, and then they run into something and they crash, or they meet real life. You know, they run into people that bring them down, or situations, and they feel like that place of grace where they can get sometimes is just not there all the time. It's very fragile. Well, the reason that is for the same reason that you get frustrated when people don't, listen to your song all the way. And that is you want them to be a certain way. You want them to react in a certain way. You want them to be light. You want them to be loving. You want them to be caring. You want to relate to them in a caring to caring person. Let's just be real honest with each other and so on, and not drag up a bunch of, fear and ego junk. But that doesn't happen. So you get pulled in. Your ego gets caught like on a fish hook and gets sucked right into theirs. And if they say things that challenge you, then, you get defensive and have to explain to them why it's not like that. And then they get worse, and then you have to explain to them how it is that they're making it worse, and the whole thing just degenerates. You just, again, have to let people be who they are. You have to see people as everybody is doing the best they can with what they've got. Most people are up to their eyebrows in fear and in self-centeredness, and things are about them. Most people try to make themselves feel better by putting other people down and telling other people what's wrong with them. But it's not because it's anything about the other person. It's because it's about them. They do that not because they dislike the other person and want to hurt them. They do that because they're trying to make themselves feel better. It's that sort of thing. And it's even the drug thing is like that. The reason drugs are so bad for people is that they don't treat causes. They treat symptoms. It's self-medication. It's when life really seems to suck and it's unpleasant most of the time. People take drugs to escape that unpleasantness, to escape the pain, to escape usually it's the negative feelings they feel about themselves. That's what they're trying to escape. But the drug doesn't actually help fix anything. All it does is try to fix symptoms. It doesn't fix anything real. Anything substantial. It just makes the symptoms go away because your mind goes blotto and you get goofy, and now you're not worried about being insignificant or being failed or not being worthy, because now your mind is too jumbled with the drug to think about those kinds of things. So then you feel relief. So taking the drugs is a way to escape the symptoms of dysfunction, but it doesn't do anything to help fix the dysfunction. And what it actually does is makes the dysfunction worse, because when you're on drugs, then you're more dysfunctional as far as interacting with people than when you're not. So it makes everything worse. So that's why when you come off of it, you see that things are getting better. The place, everything's getting lighter and looking better because you're not as dysfunctional as you were, and because you're dealing with the world straight up rather than avoiding it by, taking drugs to get rid of the pain, to get rid of the sense of failure and unworthiness. You're meeting life, and that's good, but you can't expect other people to also be trying to meet life and trying to become love. Most people aren't really trying to become love. They don't understand the bigger picture. They don't have any sense of what the point is here, what our purpose is. They're just going through their life trying to feel better for the most part, trying to, medicate or soothe their own insecurities, their own problems, their own lack of love. And in doing so, sometimes they reach out and hurt other people, particularly if you say something to them that makes them have to dig down inside themselves, makes them have to be authentic, makes them have to face up to some of their issues. When you do that to people, mostly they get angry and they start a fight because it's too scary to be authentic. It's too scary to look at yourself and see your own dysfunction. Nobody wants to see that. They want to cover it up. Sometimes it gets so desperate to cover it up that they just take drugs, but other times they use other tricks rather than taking drugs. They start arguments. They start fights. They call each other names. They get angry. All of these things are just, they're doing many of the same things the drugs do. They are helping people deal with fear, helping people escape fear. Blame it on somebody else. Somebody mentioned something about, it would be good for you if you became authentic and became more love. And in their mind, you're saying you're not authentic enough and you don't have enough love, and they take that personally. Now they want to get angry and fight back and blame something on you because it makes them feel better. So you have to be careful not to try to tell people what to do, what's right and what's wrong. Just let them be who they are. Let them struggle. If they ask for help, that's different. Now you can help. If they don't ask for help, trying to help them see a bigger picture usually just backfires, blows up in your face. People don't want to be led to bigger pictures. They have to get there on their own. So I think part of that is you are a very authentic person. You're exceptionally authentic, Fouad. You tend to say things exactly the way you feel them. And you don't say things in order to produce an image, in order to, have a particular result. At least all your interactions with me have been just extremely straightforward, honest, and, without image, just being who you are, straight up. And that's very difficult for some people to take because you make them feel bad about themselves. So you have to be a little sensitive to people, their own fears, and it's easy to trigger other people's fears. So let people be. I guess that's the bottom line. Just let people be who they are. And if you start a line of conversation and you can see they're reacting negatively to that, then let it go. Just don't go there. Don't feel like, well, there's this point. They really need to see this point, and they'd be so much happier if they just saw this point. Not going to work. The more you try to get them to see that point, the angrier they're going to be with you. You just need to let them be however it is they are. Change the subject. If they start to get negative, talk about something else. And if it turns out the only thing you can talk about is the weather or something like that without them getting angry, then find other people to talk to. Don't talk to those people so much. Avoid them. Find people that you can talk to about meaningful things. And you'll find that that's a much smaller set. There's a very large number of people that you can talk to about the weather. There's a much, much smaller set of people that you can actually talk to about things that are significant. And those are called, like best friends. And you're lucky if you find one or two of those. You don't find a whole group of those, mostly. Mostly if you find one or two people like that you can really be just honest with, that's good. That's excellent. And a lot of times you may have no one that you can talk to like that, but keep searching, keep going places where you meet new people, keep being open, and you will run into people like that. And now you'll have another really good friend. There are people like that, but you may go through 10 or 20 people before you find one that will really meet you in a real authentic space where they're willing to just be and consider, and they don't approach everything through the lens of their own ego and fear. So just let people be who they are, and don't hold it against them that they are how they are. It's just their struggle. And you've struggled with your life in your own way. They're struggling with their life in their own way. So you have to let them be. Don't let them frustrate you. Don't let them upset you. So when you started that conversation and it started to go negative, just let it go. Change the subject. Talk about something else. Bring up something that you think would have a positive thing. Or just listen. Don't have to say anything back. Just let them spew. Let them get some stuff off of their, out of their mind, off their chest, and let them talk about things. And you can just listen and say a little something now and again, but never tell them what to think or what to do. Don't try to help them out, because that will generally upset them, unless they ask you to. If they ask for help, or if you suggest something and then they reach out for it, yes. But if you suggest something that might be helpful and they push it away, let it go. You can't force feed people to understand something. They have to get there on their own. So if you get frustrated because they're not following you, they're not getting there, and you're trying to help them, then don't get frustrated. Say, well, I'm doing what I can. Is there another way I could approach this? And if you approach it from another direction very gently and it still ends up negative, say, well, maybe I'll try a month from now. You don't have to give up entirely. It's not to just give up on people. You may try different ways, different approaches, but you always have to be gentle. You always have to be caring about them. And if they get upset or get negative or get whatever, then it's not the right time to talk about that.
But but you really, or I really feel not totally alone, but as you just said, there are maybe one or two persons I can honestly go deep in my talks and find the reactions that I'm hoping for. I know that it's not that it's something that should not be that I wait for the right reactions, but I always hope for that. And since the day my ex-girlfriend left the house, she moved out at the beginning of May, I have many days I come back home, and now I have two other persons living here because I share this place now with other persons, but they are not consciousness researcher or something, and I don't have a relationship to them. We have a friendly behavior together. But when I come home, I really sometimes feel so alone that I don't know what to do with myself. I feel like I want to tell somebody what happened to me during the day, and that I just installed the green screen the last 3 days with the light and the computers, and had a lot of work, and there's no one or just a few people I can talk about and just send them pictures on WhatsApp to tell them, look what for work I've done. But I feel like, what's wrong with me? Why do I need to tell that somebody? But before I had someone here to talk about that, and right now this one is gone, and I feel really alone. Not depressive alone, but honestly alone. Like feeling the hard power of being alone.
Yeah, that's, it's nice to have other people around, but there's sometimes in your life you'll have people and sometimes you won't. And when you have that alone time, then you need to not well, I guess there's a couple of things to say. You have to not get, or not expect other people to validate you. Like, I need other people to tell me, this is good, you've done a good job. You know, that's a nice green screen you put up there. It doesn't have any lines in it. There's no wrinkles or anything. You know, it's real uniform and looks good. You know, getting other people to give you positive things, to give you validation, that's nice when you get it, but you also have to learn to let that go. And when you don't have it, you have to get along without it. You need to be able to validate yourself. You need to feel good about what you do when you do things. I mean, that is a really nice green screen. You know, it must be painted on the wall, because I don't see, you know, mine's a cloth, and you can always see little wrinkles and yeah, it's a cloth. Yeah, but it's stretched. You stretched it, really nice. Mine's just hanging from a pole, and it always has little lines in it and that sort of thing.
You just made my day, Tom.
Huh?
You just made my day. That what I was waiting for.
Well, you see, you have to not let your own validation of yourself be, come from other people. You have to you have to be able to validate yourself. When you do something and it's a really good product, like you've just done, then you need to feel good about that. You know, you took pride in some workmanship. You did really well with it, and feel good about that. You don't have to have somebody else come and appreciate it. Same with your art. You do your art, you put it out there, and people interact with it however they do, and hopefully they appreciate it, but don't feel like you need to be validated by somebody else's appreciation. You see, that's a problem. You have to be able to validate yourself. Now, maybe one of the things you could do in times when you would like to talk to somebody else and there is nobody else really to talk to, start a journal. Get some paper and pencil and start writing down what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what you're doing. And you may find 10 years from now that you've got, a couple of 100 pages of journal, type pages even, and they might turn out to be a really interesting book, or, something you go back and read and you can see the progression in your understanding of things, and it helps you grow. So that's a thing you can do when you have alone time that takes up your time, and that is journal. And a lot of people who do that end up with very meaningful things in the end. And when you're doing it, it's like, well, this is a waste of time just writing down, all the things I'm thinking and how I'm feeling and what's going on and what I did today. They call that a diary, right? But writing diaries is really a very good thing to do, in that it helps you see your own growth and understand yourself better, and it'll help you get perspective, because things that are fuzzy in your head will have to get clear when you write them down. You can't write fuzzy sentences. Well, I guess you can, but they're obviously fuzzy when you write them. So when you start writing stuff down, it'll lead you to, oh, really? What do I really feel here? And you'll have to make it more precise. And you may find out as well, that's just me needing other people to tell me I'm okay, because I'm not sure yet that I'm okay. So the more people that tell me I'm okay, the easier it is for me to believe it. If you're there, then realize that that's where you are, and that's okay. Okay, you're growing up. You're coming from a place that was very dysfunctional. You're growing up into this other place, and it's a slow process. It's not something you're going to do in a week. It's something you're going to do over a couple of years, maybe. It's going to take some time, but it's all right if you're in process. Everybody's in process. Those people you talk to and it turns into a fight or an argument, they're all in process, trying to become something better, and they're all struggling, and so are you. So you're no different than they are, except you're actually aware of what you're doing and that you're in this process. And therefore, you have a much better probability, a much higher probability than they do, of actually succeeding, because you're aware of it, you're seeing it, you're authentic. And the journaling would probably be something very useful for you, and you might get into that, and it'll use up a lot of that alone time with something that is really very productive to write about, to keep a diary of how you feel and what's going on. And you don't have to share it with anybody. It's just your own private journal. But, people used to do that all the time. Almost everybody, had diaries of sorts. And a lot of the better novelists that we've had over the last 100 years, that was a great source of a lot of their material, because it showed them this line of evolution of a personality as it grows, as it understands, and then they can put that into their writing and into their art. So I think you'd probably find that very useful. But the other thing to do about loneliness is go places where you meet people. And again, you'll meet 10 or 20 or 30 people before you find one that somebody you can really talk to. Most people aren't. Most people, you just socialize with them. You tell jokes with them, you laugh with them, you do things with them, you help whatever you do, you help build things or clean up things or whatever you do with people. Join in one of the groups that has some sort of mission, whatever it is, feeding stray dogs or building houses for the poor, or, there's lots of these groups that have things that they do, things that they do that they volunteer to do something that has some civic value in it, that's some value to the community. Get involved with some of those. And again, it's going to be just one or two out of a large number that you will connect with in a deeper way, but that's okay. They're on their own journey. And it doesn't mean it's a negative about you. Well, I'm not good enough. What's wrong with me? Why don't people like me? Well, you're probably expecting too much out of those people. They're in the middle of their own storm of pain, their own storm of ego, their own storm of trying to, make themselves feel better. And in that storm, they're going to be throwing lightning bolts around and making loud thunder noises, and they're going to have all their own issues to deal with. And that's just the way they are. Kind of accept that. It's not like you're the one that's not doing very well and everybody else is out there and happy and making it and all their lives are terrific. And you might see it that way. All these other people are out there and they're all real functional. And here I am. I'm just struggling to get more and more functional. But it's not like that. There are a lot of ways you are better off than they are, because you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you're very authentic. You're very honest with yourself. That's a great leap forward. Most people have not gotten that far yet. So, and in some ways, they may be ahead of you because maybe they came from more functional environments, more functional families, more functional relationships, and that sort of thing. Maybe they've had an easier time of it, but all of that is just the way things are. Everybody is just however they are. So don't be needful of other people to validate who you are and what you're doing. Just do it because you want to do it, and do it because you want to do it well. Just like that green screen. Like I say, it's a lot better looking than mine. You spent some time on that. I threw mine up, put it on a rod, stretched it across, and figured that's a green screen, and we'll get by with it. But it's not at all stretched out like yours, which is perfectly no wrinkles, really, really nice. You'll have to tell me sometime how you did that. You must have put it on a frame or done something.
Yeah, I did a frame.
Yeah, you framed it? Yeah.
A double wood frame with the closer frame to me has a little step outside, so I have clamps, and I have about 24 clamps around the frame.
Yeah.
It was really a lot of
Yeah, to
work.
make a really good one, you need a frame, top, bottom, and both sides. You need to frame the whole thing. And mine's just hanging from a rod at the top. And, of course, the rod bends a little bit because any rod, if you put weight on it, it's going to bend a little bit. And then when it bends, it causes wrinkles. Yeah. And then you get all these wrinkles that you have to get out. And every time we use it, we got to get the iron out and try to get rid of wrinkles and that sort of thing. But, Keith has done some really nice work with this green screen of mine. It works all right. He's clever. He can get rid of wrinkles sometimes. But it's nice.
I have to say something regarding the frame. there are so many synchronicities in my life. The wood that I made the frame of came from a company where I sometimes work. It's a company who works with wood, and the name of the company is Frame. So I also have a Hollywood star I'm building, actually meter to meter, 7 centimeter thick, and I will put it on the Reeperbahn in Hamburg. It's the most famous street in Germany, and I will put it like a Hollywood star is having his own star, and I'm building that star. Actually, these days it's nearly finished, or the three parts or fourth parts are already done. And the main work of the star that was done in Hamburg. The name of the street is Sternstraße. Stern means star. It's the Star Street. So that's where the metal work were done. And all these synchronicities are following me my whole life, the last years, totally. It's really funny somehow. I do something, and then the simulation is naming it. Everywhere I look, there I can find the names of what I'm doing. It's a good sign, I think, for my artwork.
It's a very good sign. It just lets you know that you're part of something larger. It's just not you, but there's, it's not really that there's just you all by yourself. There's this larger system that you're interacting with, and it's interacting with you, and you're a piece of something bigger. And it sounds like you are succeeding. You're doing well, and the more you succeed and wish to grow and have a good intent, the more the system will work with you and show you that you are not alone. You're part of a system, and that system is aware of you and aware of your growth and aware of your thoughts, because all those synchronicities are just there to let you know that there's something else out there besides you that knows you and knows that you're there and is part of your environment. It's that larger thing. So that should be all those synchronicities are a good sign, because it's a sign that the system is working with you.
meinen Realitätstunnel. Aber wer bin ich? Ich bin das Bewusstsein. Ich bin das individuelle Bewusstsein. Ich bin die individuelle Einheit vom Bewusstsein aus dem großen Bewusstseinssystem, wo wir alle drin stecken. Denn das Bewusstsein ist fundamental.
Man hätte ihn eigentlich dabei sehen sollen, jetzt versteckt er sich.
Ja, warum? Ich dachte, er würde ja als allein.
Eigentlich ja.
Ich muss jetzt mal eingucken.
Vielleicht sind das die 50 Grad, die da drin herrschen.
Denn deine Daten schaffen deine Informationen.
Ja. Aber keiner weiß, was das Leid ist.
Und daraus wirkt deine Wirklichkeit. Die Daten informieren mich. Die Daten informieren mich. Ich entscheide, welche Daten mich informieren. Ich entscheide, welche Daten mich informieren. Du entscheidest, welche Daten mich informieren. Und aus dieser Information entsteht dein Realitätstunnel. Und aus dem blickst du dann heraus. Und das, was dir erscheint, ist deine wirkende Wirklichkeit. So einfach. Das sind die Daten. Die Realität wird geschaffen aus Information. Deine Realität wird geschaffen aus deiner Information. Meine Realität wird geschaffen aus meiner Information. Das sind die Daten. Die Daten werden informiert, in Form gebracht. Sie bringen deinen Realitätstunnel in Form. Wer ist es, der diese Daten auswertet? Es ist ein Avatar hier auf Planet Erde. Es ist ein Avatar hier innerhalb dieser physikalischen, materiellen Realität. Aber wenn du glaubst, dass du dieser Avatar bist, dann ist es dein Realitätstunnel. Denn es sind nur die Daten. Stell dir vor, du spielst World of Warcraft oder Sims oder irgendein anderes abgedrehtes Computerspiel. Ist doch egal. Du bist der Player, nicht die Figur. Du bist das Bewusstsein, nicht die Figur. Du bist nicht der Avatar. Also, Daten schaffen. Durch mein Bewusstsein Information. Ich gucke mir an, welche Daten ich über meinen Avatar an meinem Bewusstsein gelangen lasse, um eben daraus Informationen zu schaffen, die dann meinen Realitätstunnel haben, aus dem heraus ich dann blicke. Das, was ich erblicke, ist meine wirkende Wirklichkeit. Aber ich habe ganz am Anfang entschieden, welche Daten ich mir reinpfeifen. Meine Realität ist gleich meine Information. Meine Realität ist gleich meine Information. Aber ich bin nicht der Avatar. Ich bin das Bewusstsein, das durch diesen Avatar gerade redet. Aber ich bin nicht der Avatar. Denn das Bewusstsein ist fundamental. Das Bewusstsein ist die Basis. Da kehren wir hin zurück. Da waren wir schon die ganze Zeit. Sie wollen uns erzählen, dass wir sterben. Sie wollen uns erzählen, dass wir leben. Sie wollen uns so viel erzählen. They're just telling us a vision. Television. Das ist so simpel. Nimm die Worte auseinander. Geh zurück auf die ursprünglichen Daten. und informiere dich selber. Diese Informationen schaffen deine Realität. Die Daten, Informationen, Realität. Daten, Informationen, Realität. Daten, Informationen, Realität. So simpel. Du entscheidest. Du als individuelles Bewusstseinswesen. Du entscheidest. Aber entscheide nicht als der Avatar, der du denkst zu sein. Mach das nicht so. Du spielst sie nur gerade. Du spielst sie nur gerade. Ich spiele gerade Moksha Freeman auf Planet Erde. Und ich bin eine Kunstfigur. Ja, das können wir alle. Ich bin Künstler, du bist Künstler, wir sind alle Künstler. Aber nein, sie erzählen uns, informiere dich zu einem Menschen, der für uns arbeitet. Geh in unsere Schule. Und wenn du gut in unserer Schule bist, dann kriegst du eine 1. Und sie sagen, geh in unsere Universität. Und wenn du gut in unserer Universität bist und das wiederholst, was wir dir 1000-mal vorsagen, dann kriegst du einen Doktortitel. Nein, wenn du richtig gut darin bist, dann wirst du ein Professor. Und dann kannst du rausgehen und bist der Weltprofessor. Aber du bist nicht der Professor. Du bist ein Künstler. Ich mag dieses Chaos. Das Chaos schafft viele Daten. Eine hohe Entropie. Es ist so ein Chaos gerade. Eine hohe Entropie. So viele Daten von allen Bildern, Menschen, Worte. Augen zu, Augen auf, Daten, Daten, Daten. Ich höre Daten. Ich sehe Daten. Ich schmecke Daten. Ich ficke Daten. Das ist alles nur ein riesiger weil mir geht die Luft aus. Sagt mein Avatar. Aber das stimmt nicht. Ich kann viel länger ohne Luft sein. Dass ich denke, dass ich Luft brauche, wird mir doch nur simuliert. In dieser Simulation. Ich brauche keine Luft zum Atmen. Ich bin nämlich gar nicht hier. Die Daten sagen mir, dass ich Luft zum Atmen brauche. Aber ich selbst als individuelle Einheit vom Bewusstsein, ich habe noch nie geatmet.
Ich habe noch nie geatmet.
Das Einzige, was ich kann, ist Liebe. Also ich bin eine individuelle Einheit vom Bewusstsein und ich kann eigentlich nur Liebe. Und Liebe kann ich richtig gut. Ich kann Liebe so erschaffen. Und ich kann Liebe so erschaffen. Liebe so wundervoll machen. Wie sie aus der herauskommt. Eine Art, ich vergesse. Sorry, ich vergesse. Teilchen heruntergebrochen, das ist noch kleiner als die das sind ja die Strings. Das sind die kleinsten Teilchen, ja? Das kleine geht's nicht. Darauf wollten wir uns reduzieren auf die Teilchen. Und das Ganze drumherum ist ein leerer Raum. Alles drumherum ist leer. Diese Monate.
Liebe Mitmenschen, bitte nutzt
Informationen schaffen Realität. Und du entscheidest, was ich sage. Wenn du auf deinem Bewusstsein erhaftest. Du entscheidest einfach, welche Daten dein Bewusstsein ist ja bedacht, das wirklich nimm die Worte einfach selbst auseinander und schau, wo du hinkommst. Da ist nichts versteckt. Und da ist auch keine Verschwörung dahinter. Nehmen die Worte, wie sie sind. Information. Da steckt doch schon Form drin. Also passt doch auf, was dich in Form bringt. Du entscheidest über die Daten. Lass niemand anderen entscheiden, welche Daten deine Realität in Form bringen.
And what I wanted to say regarding the diary, I have the strong feeling that when I know we have a conversation the next month, that I'm starting writing down all the questions. And I have to show you, these are so many questions. It's about 70 questions I wrote down, and that's somehow a diary. But for most of the questions, I have the little Tom inside my virtual brain who is already giving me the answers. Somehow it's stupid to ask you all these questions because I know what you're going to answer, because you already answered most of the questions inside the fireside chat, or I have a feeling of what you're going to answer because of the picture that I've got from you. But anyway, I won't come back to that point with feeling alone. I talked to a friend regarding our relationship, and he said the higher your consciousness is going, and as you just said, you will meet a few people who are on that level of consciousness. The higher your consciousness become, the less people you will meet, and especially in relationships, I will not find many partners who are fitting to me. And on the one hand, on the other hand, I know that the right partner will come when I'm doing what I really love, and then it will automatically happen. But on the third hand, I think I'm really conscious. I evolved really high with my consciousness somehow. But on the other hand, I'm really low on my evolving process towards love. And I feel the persons the partners I'm looking for are high evolved towards love, and they feel or see somehow that I'm not so inside my center, and I'm not so that my entropy is too high for them. So I have the conflict of that my consciousness is somehow getting higher and higher, but my being level towards love is too low to find the right partner for what I'm looking. So I think you already got the point.
Yeah. So your consciousness quality and your ability to be love are all basically the same thing. All those things grow up together. You just need to be the best that you can be, which means that you're making choices for the right intents. Your intention is caring. Your intention is about others. Your intention is to be, as good as you can, to be as right as you can. And by right, I don't mean that, you're right, others are wrong. I mean right in the sense you're doing things for the right reason. You go about them well. And if you make those choices right, then let everything else come as it does. The relationships, the significant other, meeting the right people that connect with you. As you grow up, it's true, those two things that your friend told you. As you grow up, the people that you can relate deeply with will change. So, and the more grown up you are, then it's probably there's fewer of those people. But that's all right, because the more you grow up, also the more that you can interact just with ordinary, everyday, everyone, and still get something good out of it. Okay, you can't go into much depth. You have to let it stay superficial. But you can meet with them in a way that is still meaningful to them. You can still be helpful. You can still be part of a social situation, even if it doesn't go but so deep. So you can get, you can have that part, but you're getting yourself ready. Think of it in this way. You're growing yourself to the point that you will be able to have and sustain that significant other relationship you're looking for. But you're maybe not ready yet. So it's maybe good that you just work on it until you are ready. But when you are, it'll happen. It'll happen all by itself. So if we just focus on ourselves growing up, then let everything else will just take care of itself when you're ready. If you're not ready yet, then you still need to do some work. But we don't get in the sense that things aren't happening for me because I'm not good enough. Everybody has to grow up. Everybody's not good enough, quote unquote, if you mean good enough that they're beings of love with no ego and no fear. Everybody's not good enough in that sense. Everybody has things to learn. Everybody's in a process. Most relationships are not all that good. Most relationships are need-based relationships where, if you fulfill my needs, I'll fulfill your needs. Those relationships don't last very long. Those are all difficult relationships, and they tend to have a lot of disagreements about things. That's not love. Love is just about giving. Love is something you give away and don't really expect anything else. You don't need anything else. You're fine. So getting to a point where you're fine by yourself is a really good, strong point to be, where you don't need a lot of things outside. Well, when you don't need them, that's when they start coming to you. When you get to the point that you don't mind your loneliness, that you don't need somebody to validate you, and you don't need to have that significant other because you're doing fine. You're feeling good about yourself. You're staying busy. You're progressing, and you're growing, and that's good. And as soon as you get to the point that you don't need it, then's when it happens. because then is when you're ready for it. As long as you're in need and you really want it and you have to have it, it's the most important thing, and you're not getting it, then you're not ready yet. You won't get it because all of that stuff is self-focused. I want, I need, I have to have it. And more energy that goes into that I stuff, then the less grown you are and the less likely you're going to have that relationship you're looking for. You see? So develop yourself. Be strong internally. I'm doing good work. I do work where I work. I do work at home. I interact with people. I'm caring about them. I don't let conversations go negative. When they start to go negative, I bring them back up to something positive. I don't get upset when things don't go the way I want them and people aren't the way I want them. I just let people be. When you get that, now you can live and feel strong. See, as you have high quality of consciousness, you also have a lot of personal power to where you feel okay about you. And when you feel okay about you and you have this personal power, then you don't have many needs and wants. You don't have a lot of sentences that you start with I, because you can fulfill yourself. That's when these very rewarding, significant relationships occur, because now you're grown up enough to have one. As long as you were needy, any relationship that comes along is going to be a struggle because you have needs. You have needs. You need to be validated. You need this. You need that. You need people to give you something that you don't have, and that will cause a problem because you need something from them. That's not love. Love is about you've got something to give. So you see, so growing up, and you're on the right path, you're doing the right thing. Like you say, in the last 5 or 6 months or whatever, you've really come forward. That's just real obvious. It's just looking at you. You can see it in the way you look. You can see it in your face that you're really coming along great. And just keep that going. And as you develop yourself and develop that personal power, that strength of knowing that you are indeed evolving the quality of your consciousness, that you are self-sufficient, that you can, you don't need anybody to validate you. You're okay, and you're not wanting something that you don't have. Oh, I don't have this, but I really, really want it. I need it. That's your ego. That's your fear. You really, really need it, and you really, really want it because you have a fear that you'll never get it. You have a fear that you're not worthy of it. That's why you really need it so much. You have this fear that you're unworthy, that it won't happen to me, but I want it. And you get stuck in that kind of fear loop, and that will prevent it from actually ever happening. So you have to let all that stuff go and say, I am who I am. I'm just going to live my life, and things that will happen will happen. I'll meet people, and when I do, I'll interact with them. It'll stay positive, and it'll be whatever it is, rather than I meet people and I say, is maybe this the one? Is this the one going to be really good friends with me? Well, let me probe and find out. No, that's not it. You just be yourself. You interact. They like you or they don't. Whatever. It's okay. You're perfectly good with yourself. And if it works out good, then it'll work out good. And if it doesn't, well, then it's not really meant to be. If you try to push something that isn't going to work out good, all you do is end up with misery and arguments and that sort of stuff. So you learn you can't push, you can't demand. You just have to be all you can be and let stuff happen and deal with it as it happens. So when you have that attitude and you're no longer needy, now you're grown up enough that people will be connecting to you. You'll find exactly the people that you always wanted to find and always wanted to connect with, but you're not going to find them and make that connection until you've grown up enough to support that, to where you're not needy and you do have this personal power. So you're on the right path. You've got 10 times more personal power right now than you did the last time I talked to you. You've got a lot more personal power. So you're growing that. You're heading in that good direction. Just keep that up and let everything else take care of itself. Be happy, be satisfied inside. Feel good that you're working on it, that you're making progress. And don't let things bump you off this path toward progress that you're on. Don't let things push you any other way. Well, I'll just do just a little bit of drugs just this one time. You see, no, that's a bad idea, because that's likely it can be a slippery slope. You can slide back down into that hole again. Just keep building your personal sense of worthiness, of being okay. And you do that just by going through the world and doing it right, making good choices. Every choice you make. You see, when somebody gets angry or whatever, don't go there. It takes two to have a fight. If only one person is sitting there angry and boiling over and fussing and complaining and all that kind of stuff, but the other person's just sitting there listening, that's not an argument. That's just somebody, having a lot of ego, and the other person is helping them get over it just by being soothing, maybe, or just not feeding that anger. So your life can be very positive, and your relationships that you have can be very positive, but let those relationships turn out to whatever they turn out to be. Don't try to make them be something. Don't want them to be more than they are, and then try to work at it to see if you can't manipulate them into being more what you want. Just let them be however they are. And you will more quickly find what you're looking for by not looking for it than you will by looking for it. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but that is the way it works. If you're out searching, you never find. But if you're not searching, if you just are, and you're okay, you're self-contained, it'll find you. You don't have to go look for it.
That's a good point for the next question. I have somehow 10 of these in my notice, but it's about autosuggestion and about the law of attraction. And I have a conflict regarding this because when I do, I have two different stories in my awareness. One is that when you do the autosuggestion work, that you repeat every time what you want to be manifested in your life, then your subconsciousness get reprogrammed towards the thing you are repeating.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, there's the idea by the law of attraction that you have to spell out the wish that you want to do, like you do an order at a big order house, and then just let it go. Don't wish it again, or don't repeat anything, because it's like calling the order house and telling them, I thought about it, maybe I don't want it, I want it in a different way, and they get confused and they don't send you anything. So what do you have for information regarding autosuggestion and law of attraction? Is it good to repeat, to reprogram your subconscious towards the thing you want, or is it good to only say it once, like a wish, and just let it go, or do both in two different ways?
You do both. They're not incompatible. When you're doing repetition in your autosuggestion, you're getting something that's in your intellect, something that you think, oh, I would like to feel this, or I would like to be more this way or that way or something. Now that's your intellect wanting to be different than it is, but you can't be different until you get that idea down at the being level. That's where the being, you can actually be different once you've taken that intellectual thing and brought it down into your being level. In other words, it's like the difference between acting kind and being kind. You can act kind, but acting kind is different than being kind. Acting kind comes from the intellect. You act kind. You see somebody needs help, so you want to act kind, you want to be kind, but you're not kind. You want to be kind, so you act kind instead. So you go help people and you do things for other people because you think that's what you should do. But that's not at your being level. At the being level, if you just are kind, you help people just because that's the way you are. You couldn't not help them. You don't think about, oh, this is something I should do. You just do it because it's the way you are. You see, so there's this intellectual level and the being level. Repetition takes ideas from the intellect and helps push them down into the being level. That's what repetition does. So, you do this, I'm okay, you're okay, everybody's okay, I'll make the best decisions I can. I'll meet every choice, I'll meet head on and make it with love. And you keep saying these things over and over and over again. I am a kind person. I want to be a kind person, not just act kind. I really want to be kind. And if you keep saying these things over and over with repetition, they tend to get down to the being level more quickly. It's an effective way to get stuff from the intellect down to the being level is repetition. I use that in my books. When I write my books, I come at the same issue from 5 different directions. And people who are very intellectual don't like that. They got it the first time, but they're all in their intellect, and they say, "Oh, this is so repetitious. This guy says things, five different ways, but he's saying the same thing." That's because to get it intellectually is only a little better than not getting it at all. To get it intellectually, okay, you can talk to other people about it, but it's not going to change you. It's not going to make you any different. You'll just be able to act differently perhaps with your intellect, but it won't really help you be any different. So understanding it from different directions and coming from different attitudes, and if you process all of that, how does each one of these directions, how does it affect me? How do I approach things? And if you actually do that, think about it, then it tends to seep down into the being level. So repetition is good, but that's why it's good. Intellect to being level. Now, as far as using your intent to manifest things, well, your intent modifies future probability. And in order to be good at manifesting or changing future probability, you need to be focused. That's one thing. You need to be low noise. You need to be very sincere, have your heart in it, or it has to come from the being level. It's another way to saying the same thing. It has to come out of a deeper level. It can't come out of your intellect. If it comes out of your intellect, it's just a wish. I wish that. Well, wishes aren't very powerful. You can wish all you want, and generally it doesn't make much difference. So these are some of the things that makes your intent powerful, clear. That means there's little noise. It's not jumping around. It's not changing. It's clear. You know exactly what it is you want and why you want it. Well, focus. You have to have a very clear or a very precise focus on it. And then it has to be with the oomph, the power behind it comes from your commitment to it. It comes from your how much of that intent is coming straight out of your being level. So all those things matter. So in that case, having your thought clearly and low noise means it's not constantly jumping around in your mind, because that's high noise. That's why they say don't think about it a whole lot more. Okay, it's not that it's repetition. It's not like we're trying to get something from the intellect to the being level. What we're trying to do is have a thought, have an intention, and hold that intention and hold it clearly and stay focused on it. Okay, now you can do it many times if you have a clear, low noise mind, and that will actually help it manifest. Most people don't have a very clear and focused mind. Most people's mind are jumping around all over the place. So if they constantly kind of think about it, they're constantly, like you say, well, maybe I'll change it a little, or was that a good thing to say? I'm not so sure. Maybe I should have done something differently, or maybe I really don't want a Mercedes-Benz. Maybe I want a BMW, and if things are like that, then that just confuses everything. That's not a clear, focused intent. That's a jumbled intent, and it has no power. Okay, so these are two different things that you use for two different reasons. The repetition is to move things from the intellect to the being level, but the clear focus from the being level is to change future probability. So you may use the first to get things down to the being level, just to get something that you can focus on, from the being level. So maybe you spend your repetition getting the concept down to the being level where it's solid, it's you, it's a part of the way you are. And now you'll be a lot stronger in manifesting that because you've got that at the being level. So they're connected. You can use one to the other, but they're two different processes used at different times. So if you use this intent to change future probability, the fact that you do it often is not a problem. As long as you always do it exactly the same way, as long as it's focused on the same thing, and as long as your intention is solid, then the fact that you do it often is actually better. And the reason that they say don't worry over it, it's because most people aren't that focused and aren't that consistent, and they end up creating a jumble. That jumble kind of cancels each other out almost. It's a weak thing. So does that answer it? That they're both good processes, but you're trying to do different things with each process.
Yeah, and that the repetition has to be exactly the same if you order something. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing. I see you as my spiritual teacher, and is it good to have a spiritual teacher, or is it better just to be my own teacher and not to focus too much on that, what you say? I mean, that what you are saying and you're teaching, like showing me to let all my belief systems go. You're one of the only teachers I know, or you're the only one that I know that is teaching to not have a belief system. That's why I'm here and talking to you and asking you all the questions. But what do you think about that? And the second half of the question is, did it change your life a lot that you become a spiritual teacher for so many people? Your personal life, but more focus on the first part.
Okay, the first part. What a spiritual teacher can do for you is give you maybe some structure in which you can order your own experiences, in which you can better understand your own experiences. Some structure that helps you tell up from down. That's what you can get. But you should not believe anything they say. It's not that you have a spiritual teacher and whatever they say is gospel. That's exactly the way it needs to be. And, they are somebody to teach you what to think and how to think it. That's not good. You need to come to your own conclusions about what to think and how to think it. So you have to own it with your own free will. Instead of doing things because a teacher tells you that those are good things to do, you need to do things because you decide that those things help you grow and help you change yourself. So the teacher is there to provide some kind of context or structure. In other words, like I say in my book, that my big toe can't be your big toe because my big toe is based on my experience. What you need to do is grow your own big toe based on your own experience. Because if it's not your experience, it's not your truth. Okay, now what you can do with my big toe and what makes my big toe perhaps valuable to people who are learning is that my big toe may give you a structure by which you can understand things. You can say, well, I had all these experiences and I had that and I feel like this. And how does the my big toe model fit that? How does it explain that? How does it how can I use that model to help me understand what's going on and who I am and why I am and what I'm doing? And if that gives you some answers, if it gives you some structure, then you decide how to go forward, how it is you need to do that and how you need to apply it. But you always have to decide how you are going to move forward. Don't say, well, I'm doing whatever the teacher says and therefore I should be getting more and more spiritual. You don't get spiritual by doing what somebody else says. You can't get spiritual by copying someone. You can only get spiritual by growing up. So the change has to happen inside of you. So a spiritual teacher is only somebody to give you, perhaps encourage you, give you some idea that it is possible to grow up. It's not just an idea that's impossible, because look, here are some people who are grown up. So that will give you a little encouragement, and to give you a structure, a foundation on which to hang your own experiences, to make sense out of your own experiences and help you decide how you're going to move forward. But it's not that a teacher tells you how you should move forward. Any teacher that wants to tell you how to move forward is not really a very good teacher. And as far as spiritual things go, all spiritual growth has to come from inside. And you can't tell somebody else how to move forward. You can only tell yourself how to do that. But you can put out general ideas and constructs that help other people define what is forward. What's forward and what's backward. And how am I doing that? But in the end, you always have to look at your own experience and say, well, here's my experience. What does my experience say? What's the truth of my experience? Does the truth of my experience say that when I'm most self-centered and concerned about myself, I'm happiest and life is good? Is that what my experience says? And if you go back and you look at it and you pay attention, well, for most people, that's not what their experience will tell them. Their experience will tell them when you're most self-centered and only worried about yourself, that's when your life starts to go haywire and isn't very good. And it's confrontational, and you get in arguments a lot, and there's problems. So you may not have thought to look at that if you hadn't talked to a spiritual teacher, or at least read one. But once you do read one, now you know that that's something maybe you could go look at and see how your own experience stands up to what this teacher's saying. But you have to be in charge of yourself in the whole way. So don't take the teacher too seriously. Don't look at the teacher as somebody to tell you something, is tell you how to live your life or what to do, what to think, or how to be. You have to be yourself. You have to be authentic. Just be you. Otherwise, you'll end up acting. Well, the teacher says I should be kind and gracious and always be helpful, that it's always about other, and that's the way I'm going to act. Well, that's nice. People will like you better. It'll make you more civilized, but it isn't going to help you become more spiritual. It isn't going to help you grow up, because that's acting. It's not being. You need to be the kind. You need to be considerate. You need to really care about other people, not just act like you do. So, you don't want to act like the spiritual teacher. You don't want to act at all. You want to be real. And when you're being real, now you have an opportunity to see the results of that real you. All right, this is really me. And when I'm really me and I interact with people, it doesn't work out so well. And then you can think, well, why not? And you can say, well, when I'm real, I'm pretty self-centered. It's all about me and my wants and my needs, and I'm constantly manipulating everything else in my environment to give me those. And then you can say, well, that's me. It's how I am, but I need to change that. I need to not be that way. Not like I need to be a better hustler. I need to be trickier. I need to be able to trick people to do what I want. I need to have people see me in a certain light, have an image. You just need to change who you are at that being level, and then that intent to change will actually create the change. If that intent to change is strong, you will change. That intent at the being level wants to change, it will. So that's kind of the value of a spiritual teacher, is that they maybe encourage, they maybe help you seize different ways of looking at reality and seeing yourself, and they give you some idea of what the point is, why we're here, where what's forward and what's backward, what is positive evolution and what's negative evolution. But after that, you got to do all the work yourself. So that's a spiritual teacher. nice to have if it gives you some ideas, gives you some inspiration. Good. But you have to do it all. You're not going to get there by riding on the shoulders of a teacher. Even if you hang out with them all the time, it's not going to help you actually grow up. It might help you act more grown for a while as long as you're hanging out with them and you feel more grown up. But if when you're not with them, you go right back to the way you were, then you haven't really changed yet. So that's the thing about the spiritual teacher. It's not somebody to obey, but somebody to learn from. Okay, what was the second one?
How does it change your life that many people see you as a spiritual teacher?
Well, I guess it's changed my life in multiple ways. I'm a lot busier than I used to be. It changed my life that way pretty tremendously. I probably, it gives me a responsibility I didn't have before, because now I speak to lots of people in lots of venues, just like we're speaking, and this will go out on YouTube. And eventually, in the first 3 weeks or so, 10,000 people will look at it. And over months and years, 100,000 or 200 or 300 or 500,000 or 1,000,000 people will look at it eventually. If people find it useful, then people will find it and they will share it. And you have to be aware of what you say when you're talking to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. And be very careful you don't say things that are hurtful to some of those people. So that's a little different. I didn't have that. When I talk with people before, because the audiences weren't going to get so large, it could be more of just a one-on-one. You didn't have to care too much about what you're saying, but now I have to not only be aware of being helpful to you, see where you are, how can I tell you things that will be helpful to you and help you understand, but I also have to realize that I'm going to be saying all these things to tens of thousands of people, and I need to say them in a way that are helpful to you and helpful to others, and don't create even a 2 or 3% of that 10,000 that makes them more dysfunctional. So it's a little bigger picture, the things you say and how you have to say it. And talking so much in all the various interviews and things I do has pushed me to find ways to be more, to be more easily understood, ways to say things, ways to describe things, ways to approach ideas, because most of my philosophy, most of my MBT theory is very, very abstract. And when you talk in terms of abstractions, anything spiritual is going to be very abstract. It's not concrete. And when you talk about things that are abstract, it's difficult to get these concepts across. It's difficult to get people to understand, particularly when you're talking about things that are so far out of the average person's mindset, like virtual reality, and this reality is computed, and your consciousness doesn't live in your body. Your consciousness is its own thing, and your body is just an avatar being played by the consciousness. And these concepts are so far out to most people that I'm always looking and trying to figure out better ways to express it so that people will walk away with more understanding and less confusion. So those are things that have affected me. But yes, I grow all the time. I also am in a process of evolving the quality of my consciousness. So I grow all the time. And as I meet people and see people and interact with people, I have challenges, because I meet all sorts of people. And to interact with them in a way that's positive and in a way that's about them, to learn what I can learn, to be open. Everybody's your teacher. That's a good way to look at life. Everybody is your teacher. That person you had an argument with, they're your teacher. When you have that argument, it's teaching you, don't go there. Don't feed that argument. Let that alone. It doesn't go in a good place. It's not going to be good. I'm not going to teach them or get them to understand by arguing with them. All you do when you argue is get people to oppose you even more, because everybody gets entrenched on their own side. I'm right, you're wrong. And things get worse, not better. So everybody is your teacher. And in a way, everybody's also your student, because as you interact with other people, you're also, they have to make choices because of the things you do. And the choices they make, you're their teacher. So if you look at everybody as both your student, you're going to affect them in some way. So you need to say things that help them find their happiness, that help them see bigger pictures. And lecturing to them about how they need to see a bigger picture is not the way to help them. That's not helpful to people. Trying to tell them what's wrong with them and how they should see the world is not helpful to people. So you have to, everybody you meet, the things you say and do they will react to it in some way. And does that reaction make them go deeper into their own dysfunction, or does it help them come out? You see? So you have to see yourself as a teacher as well, and as everyone being a teacher for you. With that attitude, then there's always challenges for growing. There's always somebody out there who will stretch your sense of understanding and your sense of caring. So just interacting with people is a good thing. Being social is a good thing, just because you interact with all these teachers. And you have to be careful that you are the best teacher that you can be, that you're not trying to tell people how to live their life, but you are giving them stuff that they can actually use. Because they can't use directions. Give people directions in what they should do. They can't use that because they have to make their own choices. And if your directions aren't their own choices, then they can't use them. So you have to work with that. Be a good teacher. So yes, I've grown. I've, gotten rid of ego here and there, found bigger pictures, found better ways to explain things to people. It's changed my life both in a mundane way and in a consciousness evolution way. There's no time when you feel, or when I feel, and when most people feel that they don't have any place to grow. There's always a lot of ways to grow up. Always a lot of things that you could do better. There's always something out there that might annoy you or bother you, and it really shouldn't, because that's you. Whenever you feel annoyed or bothered, then it's not about them that you blame it on. It's about you and your ego. So some people are more challenging than others. Life is a long lesson. It doesn't quit. So I'm still learning things. I'm still growing up, still trying to make good choices. And you have to keep at it. You never get to the point that you can say, I made it. I'm good enough. I can just float from here, just rest and glide from here on, because I'm got to the point where I want to be. As soon as you start gliding and taking things for granted is when you start de-evolving. It all starts coming apart. So you have to never get to the point that, all right, I've made it pretty well. So now I can relax. I can go drink a couple of beers and, sit back and watch the football game and just not be bothered with anything. But as soon as you stop your intention of being both a good student and a good teacher, you start to not be such a good student or a good teacher.
Thank you, Tom. I love you so much. I would love to have you like little Tom here in my room, just hanging around with me and talking the whole night. I think, it would be really great to ask you questions in the future again. outside of the fireside chat, and also I have a lot of questions I will ask you in the fireside chat. So thank you for today. My mind is exploding, and I'm already thinking, how can I do art with all the stuff that I have now? And I'm really full now. I can't go any farther.
Okay, well, it's been good. I think what we've done will be useful to many. It's been a real valuable experience for me and you, and hopefully for tens of thousands of other people. So it's good, Foad. Thank you for making this happen. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to sit here and talk with you.
Yeah,
And at the same time, between the two of us, we're going to help, eventually we're going to help 100,000 people see their life from a better and more productive space. And it's not that I just go out and, preach to a camera. That doesn't work. That's all empty. But when I talk to somebody who's struggling and having problems, and I'm trying to help you see things in a way that you can help solve your own problem, then between the two of us, we're making a video that will be helpful to lots of people. It's something that you wouldn't have done, that you couldn't have done by yourself. It's something I can't do by myself. You see? So it is us together. We're making this video that will be very useful, and that's a good thing. So thank you. I appreciate, the opportunity to say things and be in this context where we make videos together that are useful to people. After all, that's the whole point. Making stuff that helps people grow up.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.